American International Journal, Studies in English Language Teaching Journal, World Journal of Educational Research, and then some other popular research. Without wasting the time, now let's welcome here our second invited speaker, Assistant Professor Ghadah Al Murshidi. To the Honorable Assistant Professor Dr. Ghadah Al Murshidi, time is yours. Prof. Ghadah.
Yes, hi. Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's clear, Prof. Time is yours, please.
Yeah, and I shared the slides. Can you see it?
Yeah, you already shared the PowerPoint presentation, I guess. We can see it clearly, Prof. Okay.
So can you see it?
Yeah, you may start the speech, please, Prof.
Okay, good. So thank you for your invitation to speak about the situation of education in our country as the United Arab Emirates. So it is after coronavirus 19. So as we know that the coronavirus, the pandemic, when it comes, it's in all country affected. So in all countries start to think, and all governments start to think, how can they do with education? So for example, like, some schools were closing and others trying to do their best and think about what they have to do regarding the healthcare system. So as UNESCO stated that 90% of the students around the world, their schools were closing. And they started to go to the hybrid or the online higher education learning system. So some of the schools, so using the online learning system, they moved from traditional way to the online, more to the more group and activities and to the student centers rather than the teacher centered. So now I will talk more about the situation in my country, the UAE. So the government make a call that, our spring break to make it like more earlier, start with March 8th instead of the 29th of March. So we have like 2 weeks to do our best to be ready and prepared for the schooling. So the Ministry of Education make that call, and all the government, the private schools and universities, nurseries do all that, start to be more prepared for the online learning. And alhamdulillah, in our country, most like our the infrastructure, we are good. So we have the connection, the internet, we have many programs we are using, because for example, from 2017, the Ministry of Education, they started to think about the smart learning and they start to be ready. That means it's not only about the building the internet connection or the infrastructure. No, it is more about the people, how they can accept it. And also, as we said, for the senior teachers to be ready and prepare, and also for all the parents and students to be ready for this move. So when we think about the online learning system, we have to think about different issues like the learning technology, communication. We have to think about our people, the staff, the students, the internet connection, and all that. So when we think about those issues, we have to think about, for example, in my country, in the UAE, we also were thinking about our children in nurseries. What can we do with them in pre-KG and KG? So we try our best to work with the parents and like adults, especially, that some parents are working. So the government and the Ministry of Education try to manage with the government and other institutions to manage how with some moms or parents who are working, so maybe they can stay at home with their kids, so they have from age 12 and less, so we had different plans and different strategies, and alhamdulillah, now we are ended the semester and we are going one of the best countries that have good strategies for the education after the coronavirus. So when we think about this issue, we have to think about, as we said, the students, the teachers, and also, for example, in my country will be August 20, we will go back to schools. So we have to think, will we reopen the schools totally, or what we have to do? So in my country, we are thinking about the safety measures and health measures. So also as a country and a government, we have to think about the risk of public health. We have to think about, okay, what about the economic activities? So now, for example, in my country, we reopening everything, but we have to keep the safety and health issues. So with that one, as you know, even with the airplanes and flights and all that, now it's mostly all open, but we have to think about, as I said, the health issues and to be ready for all that. So as we said, my country started from, we ended June 8, and we will start in August 30. So now we have different plans to reopen the schools, the universities, nurseries, pre-KG, KGs, and all that. So we might use the hybrid learning or distant learning or blending. It's based on the situation. So we have different plans and we are ready as a country for all these plans. So as I said, we might have the online learning, and mostly all countries and my country, we have, after the coronavirus, we have the plan to be as also permanent, not only temporarily, to have the blended or the online learning. And also we have to think about some of the issues as 70-30 as a blended, okay? And also we have an idea of the split of students. So I will discuss more about that. So as I said, schools and universities as a higher education system, we are thinking about, okay, how can we use, for example, on campus, how can we use the schools, the classes, how can we use the spaces? Because, as a coronavirus, we have, different measures we have to follow and precautions, as how many meters between the students in the buses will be limited for the students, should be not more than 30 students, even in classes. So we have to think about all these kind of issues. And also we have to think about the parents, because we know that parents still they're worried about their kids, especially if it's the first year for KG. For example, my kid now will go to the KG. So also as a parent, we are thinking about this and worried about this. So as I said, maybe we will have different plans as hybrid education, rota approach, or blended learning. So as we said, we'll try as a country to minimize the number of the students in the school, minimize the number even in the buses, even with the students. There are some precautions that, with the safety guard that, the student will not be allowed to share their meals. They have times. We might split the students, like, we will have some students coming in the morning, other maybe in the afternoon. So we have different plans, and already the Ministry of Education, like, announce all these kind of plans. So here, for example, Anud Al-Haj, she was the spokesperson for the ministry, and what she said that, there are some plans to reopen all the higher education system and schools in September, will be in a place, and it was like discussed as protocols in place. So here are some of the guidelines, okay, when we reopen our education system, like schools, universities, and KGs. Like, for example, all like temperatures should be checked when the kid come to school. We have to have the social distancing, okay, as 2 meters, okay? And also, for example, 30 like students in, like, in a classroom is not allowed, even in universities. And also, as a whole system of the country, the sterilization, it should be there. As I said, it's not allowed to share foods, and also the children, especially, my country cares a lot about the special needs students, and also the students have some special health conditions. So they will have, specific, plans for them. So it's mostly will be for them, it's more like online rather than on campus. So with that one, also the schools will try to reduce the gathering, okay, like celebration, sports, student camps, and all that. So to make sure that, there is like, the social distancing. And also they mentioned that, the maintenance guys, any service crew will not be allowed during the time of, our kids or our teachers